okay, this isn't working. Everything around me is collapsing and dissolving, and nobody wants me here. So it's time for me to go with all my things and all my belongings and go find what I'm supposed to do. Good morning, my beautiful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, A Man's Journey. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Know that you're making a difference with all your likes and your subscribes and comments. I love responding to your comments. Now I want to create a community here so we can have open dialogue, share ideas. If you guys are having your own daily downloads, that's amazing too. So I just want to encourage you guys to, have a dialogue with me, open up, and we can share together. Guys, what a beautiful day and what an amazing world we live in 2021. I was just having the thought today, like, how amazing is it that we get to create on this level? Like, I can set up this ring light, I can set up, my little set and my phone, and I can just hit the start button and say, I'm creating something today. And to me, that is just so amazing, so incredible. Look at the tools we have to share with each other. This episode is going to be on a movie that my girlfriend and I saw last night. And this movie had such a profound effect on both of us. And it was sad, and it was silly, and it was fun. But I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Up. It's a Pixar movie. This was made in 2009, and I was shocked to see that was 11 years ago. I was like, holy smokes, I saw this in theaters. And I remember it being sad, but I didn't remember it having so much depth to this movie, like so many messages, so many incredible ideas and storytelling and like metaphors for life. This is a spoiler alert, so if you haven't seen the movie and you want to go see it before watching the rest of this conversation, I'm totally gonna blow all the endings and I'm just gonna give away everything because I need to talk about this movie in full. So pause it, go watch the movie, and come back to this moment right here. With Up, we have this world that's created. We watch the young boy and the young girl, they find each other and they fall in love. And within 10 minutes, this movie has you in tears. I mean, you are just like tears streaming down your face. You're just in so much grief, so much sadness with the story that unfolds. It's like you watch their whole life in this montage of maybe like 3 to 5 minutes. And it's just the most incredible, beautiful, animated montage of life and all the little moments and how quick it is, how quick it all is. Like one moment we're just little children, 10-year-olds playing around in a sandbox or whatever age you're playing around in a sandbox in, but you get the point. You grow up so quick and all of a sudden, you find yourself at 70 years old, 80 years old, and you're like, wow, that was so fast. Even where I find myself now, I'm 30. Yes, I'm still young, but my goodness, if you feel that snap of the finger of age, it just happens to you. So we watch this montage of them having a scrapbook and having all these things they love and all the things they want to do, and they have this dream, right? It's like they've got this dream to go to this I forget the name of it, but it's like a paradise area, and they see their house on the top of this waterfall, and they just have this vision of them visiting this very special place to them that they've wanted to visit as children. And life takes over, and it's funny, they have the money jar, you put quarters and all your extra cash in there so that you guys can take that trip, so you can do that extra thing. And then a tire bus. You got to smash the jar, take all the extra spare money and fix your tire. And then you save up a little more, and then, oh man, somebody got sick. We got to put the money towards that, Okay, it's all good. We're going to start again. Put in more money, and then something else out, something breaks. Your guitar breaks. And you're like, okay, Can I just save a little money? Right? Like, so that we had that great message there where it's like, life happens. It's not always perfect. It's just going to be spontaneous, and you think you're going to be moving towards something, and it might not always be the thing that you think you're moving towards. Um, but it's in the attitude, right? But the message I want to push is even further into this movie. So let's get through this. He You go through their whole life, and then they're old now, and they're I don't know how old they are. I don't know, post 80 probably, I guess. He sees the scrapbook and he's like, oh my god, that's the dream. We wanted to go to this place. I'm buying tickets. We're going. Like, it is time. I'm buying tickets. And he buys tickets and gives them to her, and she gets sick and they can't go. Not only does she get sick, within a couple of frames later, we see him at her funeral and she's passed away. And you're just left with this rippling effect of like, whoa. It's like they want to do this thing their whole life and just couldn't get around to it. And there was always something. There was always bills and reasons to say, well, not yet. It's super sad. But now we have the platform to dive off into this incredible world, right? So you have this deeply depressed, sad man. He's lost everything, right? He's lost the love of his life, and he's sitting in an empty home. And then they zoom out of the microcosm of his life to show that everything around him is changing. Everything around him is leaving him behind. He is in a little plot of land surrounded by tractors, and they're digging up dirt, and it looks like they're about to put, a huge mall around him, or they're going to put a huge skyscraper around his building. And they got like CEOs, or, like rich businessmen, like making calls around his house, and they're like, hey, so what do you think about that offer? They come up, they're like, we're going to give you 2 times what we said last time. And he's like, no, you're not getting my house. You can have it after I die. And it's like, he's so attached. He's so grounded into what his life has been, and he's not ready to release yet. And this is the message I actually wanted to bring up. And this is the whole reason I brought up this movie. This whole movie is a dive into the deep attachments we create in our worlds to find comfort and to find safety. And when those attachments start to dissolve and life hits you in the face and says, hey, all those thoughts you had about what this was going to be, like, it can change in an instant. It can dissolve. So, what does this old man do? There's like a whole event. He ends up hitting somebody or abusing somebody, and the court orders him to a nursing home. It's like they just want to lock away the old people, like, oh, okay, you're getting senile. Let's put you away in a place, and it's like society's way of like saying, oh, it's you've had your time, old man. You got to give up the house. And it's like, wow. So now he's faced with this reality. They come to pick him up, and it reveals that he has attached all these balloons to his house. He has decided to take his own life into his hands and take his house and float it off into the abyss. And what's interesting about this, the way I interpreted it, was this was now him making an agreement to start his spiritual journey. This was very symbolic to me. This was like the beginning of his spiritual ascension. It was like the agreement that, like, okay, this isn't working. Everything around me is collapsing and dissolving, and nobody wants me here. So it's time for me to go with all my things and all my belongings and go find what I'm supposed to do. Go find adventure. And that's really what it was. It was a call to adventure, a call to go to paradise, a call to go to heaven, right? But like heaven on earth. So he takes off in these balloons, and he goes through all these different, we're going to kind of fast forward here, but he goes through all these different adversities testing him, and and he's just this grumpy old man that just wants to get to the waterfall. I just got to get there, but there's all these stopping points in between. The crazy metaphors in the whole movie, he's attached. There's a point in the movie where like he can't just float in the house anymore because the house, they went through a storm and some of the balloons popped or whatever, and he ended up on the ground. And he's not strong enough to climb the he was attached to a garden hose. You got to see the movie. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. He's attached to the garden hose of his house that's connected. And that's the only thing keeping the house connected to him. So he's got this thing like tied around him, and he's not strong enough to climb back in the house, but he's strong enough to walk with this floating house behind him. And he can see the paradise at this point. He can see they're like in this big like cove of a plateau. And at the end is the rainbow waterfall where he wants his house to be. So now he's made the decision that he has to walk around this huge plateau with this thing, with this house floating strapped on his back. And what's interesting is if he really wanted to just go to this place, he could just let go of all of these attachments and easily get there in 10 times the speed. But because he's so bogged down by these attachments of what the house means, well, he has pictures of his wife in there, he has all these memories, he has all his stuff, all his things, right? All his comforts are in this home, and he's not willing to let it go. And there's just the deep realization there. As you get older, you surround yourself by all these things you accumulate through life, right? Even as 30-year-old, I've accumulated so many things. And as I move on in life, I realize like I don't need all this stuff. Like I go through these phases where I just have to shed material. Like I need to donate. I need to let go of all these things. Like these things have been in boxes for 6 months. Like, why is that? It doesn't serve my life anymore. So now it's time for me to release baggage, release attachment. It no longer serves me. It actually bogs my life down. It becomes that heavy backpack that I'm traveling through life with, like barely making a step at a time, because it's like, man, this is so heavy. I've got so many things. So a pivotal moment in this story is there's a point, they add dogs, they add all these like random anti-hero, villain, whatever. They add all these villains and new kind of plot twists, right? And it works. It moves the story along. But there's a moment where his house is completely grounded. A lot of the balloons have popped. The house can no longer move. He's completely stuck in the ground in the middle of nowhere. And he's like so frustrated because he just wants to leave. And he just like, I need the house to float again. I need to feel alive again. And he has this moment of inspiration, moment of frustration, really. He takes his chair and he hucks it out of his house. Like, just get out of here, it's just like breaking this chair. And he realizes like, oh, wait, this house is so heavy because I have all these things here. Like, let me throw out some more. So he starts throwing the tables, the chairs, the pictures, the huge fridge, all the things in the house he discards to release all the attachments. All these material things that meant something to him at one point don't mean anything to him now. In fact, they hold back his journey into where he's going, right? And at the end of life, and I don't know what this feels like, right? I'm not 80, 90, coming to terms with those end years, but end years could be at any time. When you're sitting there and you're looking at all these things that really meant something to you, material-wise, it starts to dissolve. You start to realize that money and all these things were not what this was about at all. What are those things you cherish? What are those memories? Is it something simple, going on a hike with a special person? Is it sitting there eating your favorite meal? you know, on a beach or something. Like, it's these little moments in life that we can't take for granted, right? Even if those people are not there with us anymore, you know, and that's a hard thing to overcome. And those attachments do not fall off easy, right? So what's incredible about this man's journey is once he releases these attachments, his house is able to float. And now he's like a new man. He's lively and vivid and laughing, and he's got his sails now popped out on the on the house, and he has to save a bird. I mean, it's a kid's movie. There's some funny silly elements in it, but now he has his purpose regained. He's released all his attachments, and he realizes this is his call to adventure. This is his life now. And a thing I missed as well in the story is that in that scrapbook, his wife and him had been making their life together, and he didn't realize that she had finished the scrapbook before she passed away. And he had never seen those pages because he had been too grief stricken to really look through that full book, because it just was so emotional every time he picked it up. So that was the impetus for change. He looked through that book, and she said, "Thank you so much for our special adventure. Now go make a new one." Something like that in those words. And it was so powerful. That's actually what caused him to start letting go of things. So this daily download is really about releasing attachments. As you move on through life, you may realize that you are accumulating stuff. You're accumulating emotional baggage. You're accumulating physical baggage, right? Suitcases and suitcases of stuff. I mean, it's overwhelming. You got to donate. You got to let go. You got to really look at something and say, why have I not touched this for 6 months? Why have I not used this in my life in a year? Is it because it no longer serves me? If it no longer serves me, then it's taking up space in my life, and I'm, it's like, are you having to move around it? Are you like having to like pick up other things to get to that thing? Or are you, to get to that thing you need, are you digging through piles of stuff? Marie Kondo said it best. She's a woman I look up to, and she's a organizer. She wrote a book called The Life-Changing Art of Tidying Up. And I read this book. I don't know if I did a full review on it yet, but it was in my 22 books in 2020. And one of the things that her pillar in that book is, you need to pick up everything you own and say, does this bring me great joy? And hold it there and say, does this bring me joy? Like, does this light you up? Does it give you those feelings like, oh, no, I love this. Like, oh, no, I need this, something like this. Like, I love this sweater, right? So when I pick it up, I'm like, oh no, this thing is dope. Like, I wear this all the time. It's like immediate. I don't need to think about it, right? But if I pick up like some other shirt, maybe that I've had for 10 years that I wear usually to bed, it's like, I'm not going to wear it out. It's pretty raggedy. It doesn't really serve my daily anymore. And I pick it up. It's like, do you like this? Yeah. I mean, I kind of like it. That's it. Do you hear the difference? One, I'm passionate. I'm joyful. It's bringing me great. It's livening me up. It's turning on the light bulb inside me. The other is like, I know I am ready to move on from it, but I'm not ready to release. So how important is that? You can do that with so many things in your life. Like, really sit with all these things, material and emotional, relationships, friends, family members, like, you need to do what's best for you. You need to do what brings you great joy and positivity and light. And that's the best thing you can do for yourself. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around for this message. It was a long one, but if you haven't seen Up, please go see the movie Up. It's a Pixar film, 2009. It's on Disney Plus. That's where we watched it. It's a phenomenal movie. And go look for these little symbolic moments of releasing attachments. It's so beautiful. So thank you guys for sticking around. If you haven't, please like, comment, subscribe, stick around. I'm trying to do daily downloads. That's what these are about. So, you know, I sit in meditation and that's where I pull this inspiration from. So I want to get in a habit to doing these daily, but you know, they're so fun. So thank you guys for sharing this with me, and we'll see you on the next one.